Hello, hello. Welcome to the breakdown of episode number 2 at a Total Loss podcast. I'm your host, Catherine, and I'm going to recap the episode that you heard with Kelsey. So we're just going to do this because this is what it's like now. I've got notes on what we talked about. We're going to break it down. I'm going to break it down for you. And I would love to hear how you feel about it, what your thoughts are. If you've had any experience about it, we can drop that down in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe so you can get notifications on when I drop a new breakdown. Lots to talk about. So Kelsey's a friend of mine here in Atlanta. We were introduced to each other shortly after my Brody died. And so we just really hit it off. It was just the way that she handles her grief, the way that she copes with the loss, the way that she honors her son, and just a vibe as a person. If you listened and you liked her, she's cool. She's super chill. Now, I want to break down some of the things we talked about in the podcast episode. So I don't know if you're anything like Kelsey, but I'm like Kelsey, where I had no idea that stillbirth was a potential outcome for my baby's birth. So I don't know. I think I kind of knew what a stillbirth was, but to me, it in my mind, it was always maybe a very obvious or blatant reason for it. Car accident, a sickness that was very obvious. I didn't think it was like there's no reason why he died kind of thing. Maybe, it's something weird happened. Like when I was told that Brody died, literally by the tech, that his heartbeat was gone, she said to me, because immediately I was like, oh my God, I killed him. She said to me, you could have smoked crack and this would not have happened. What? What? If I wasn't in complete shock and had not have left my body at that time, I would have probably asked a million questions. But anyway, I ended up asking a million questions after that. So a lot of us stillbirth mothers didn't know that stillbirth was a potential outcome for this, which I think only to that point just means why this was such an incredible shock to all of us. And Kelsey said something really profound, that it was simultaneously the saddest and the happiest day of her life. And this is true. This is true. Some of us found out that our babies died and they were born on 2 different days. So Brody was born on the 17th. No, I'm sorry. He died on the 17th, was born on the 18th. So I somehow can separate those in my brain. But I do remember looking down and being so confused because I was happy, but I was devastatingly sad. And I'm sure you understand that. And you're not alone in that sense. Your brain's doing something, your body's doing something else. Don't forget, your body just had a baby, but your brain knows they're dead. Your body doesn't. That's just science. And so looking at your baby, you're kind of like, it's like parallel universes. None of it makes sense. So if you felt discombobulated, you're not alone. Definitely happens. She touched on something about other countries having more and more invasive, so to speak, like ways of doing prenatal care. That's true. That's true. I don't have facts for you right now, but other countries still have stillbirths for sure, and lots of pregnancy loss. But from what I'm told, they have what looks like our like perinatal specialist or maternal fetal medicine, are very, very invasive, very, very attention oriented, over the top kind of care is what their basic prenatal care is. That's what I'm hearing. So I'm hoping to get somebody on the podcast from another country so I can get some insight as to what it's like there. But again, there's still stillbirths everywhere. And it's something has to change. It's just way too many of us. Way too many of us. What happens after? The embarrassment, the shame, the blame. So let's touch on that. The embarrassment. I failed. I killed my baby. I don't have a baby now. I have a baby body now. Like I have a baby weight. Embarrassed that you couldn't do the simplest thing that a woman's supposed to do. And I say simple. That's for sure part of this. For sure part of this. For me, it didn't last long, the embarrassment and the shame. I think some of it was more towards my husband, my baby's father. Because I think one of the first things out of my mouth was, I'm sorry, I killed our baby. So I think it took me a long time to make sure that he didn't blame me, you know? And he never did. He never did. He never even uttered it where I was like, what'd you say? He almost like got mad at me, like, don't put that on yourself. I know you didn't. You did everything you could. You were a phenomenal mother. But that shame and that embarrassment is a thing, like a really big thing. You're not alone in that. Now, let's talk about blame. If you laid awake every single night, if you spaced out all day, every day, thinking about everything you ate, everything you drank, everything you did, the way that you slept, how you sneezed too hard, how you maybe bumped into the counter, how it was just this one wheatgrass shot that you took that wasn't pasteurized, or that time you ate deli meat, you thinking this was your fault will happen for a long time. To this day, I still blame, I don't even know what the word is anymore, but I still think I should have gone to another doctor's office or a specialist. But no one told me to. No one told you to. Some of us were first-time mothers. We had no idea. Some of us were second, third, fourth-time mothers. And still, the blame is part of this. So you need to do whatever you need to do to get through that. If it's find a shit ton of answers, find the answers. Ask questions. Demand it. I did. My OB was like, everything looks perfect on all the testing. I was like, not good enough. Sent his placenta away to a specialist. Went and saw a maternal fetal medicine specialist. Went and saw another OB, till I got what I needed to know. And yes, I got answers. I got answers that showed me nothing physically was my fault. It was nothing that I did. In my mind, it was stuff I didn't do. So you just have to be careful. But the blame will subside. There will be regrets, but I don't know if you'll have blame anymore. Blaming professionals, though, we're going to get into that in Erica's episode where we talk about negligence from the healthcare providers. So make sure you listen to that one if you have any sort of issues with that. Blaming your doctors, your nurses, blaming people during your prenatal care. We address that. So make sure you check out Erica's about her and Verity. Obsessing over it is a thing. I think I probably obsessed for about 6 months. And then I finally got answers. And then I was like, okay, Catherine, we can't live here. We cannot live here because it creates anger. It creates sadness, creates anxiety. It creates regret. And my son would be like, mother, stop it. You're not going to like to hear this. You're not going to want to hear this because I still to this day can't, but like, it doesn't bring him back. It doesn't. And to be honest, for a second, I thought maybe if I figured this out, this mystery, poof, he'd come back. And it doesn't happen. So living in that past is really hard to do. So you need to do whatever it is that you need, whether it's therapy, whether it's counseling, whether it's, I don't know, there's some crazy stuff out there you can do, do it. Like just to let go of that space and try not to circle down the blame spiral because it's a terrible place to be. I know, easier said than done. It takes a lot of work, guys, but you have to know deep down, this was not your fault. So I think I like what Kelsey said. She has done a significant amount of therapy, especially EMDR. And she says that how to deal with invasive thoughts, those thoughts that get in this, like when you're stay spaced out, it's like, ooh, you didn't go to the doctor fast enough. Like, look at it, address it, realize it's not true, move on. Second way you could do it, not thinking about it at all. Number 3, rabbit hole and spiral. So this is kind of where I'm at. I used to rabbit hole and spiral. Rabbit hole, oh my gosh. I woke up that morning. 5 minutes later, I had coffee. 10 minutes later, I realized something was up. 6 minutes later, I realized I should probably call the doctor. 7 minutes later, my cousin called, blah, 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 and go through the whole thing. Then, I'm at the doctor's office. Why didn't I say this? Why didn't I say that? Why didn't I ask this? Oh, then they did this test and da-da-da-da. And then next thing I know, they're saying this. And I'm like spiraling dark. And it is excruciating. Then I was like, I'm not going to think about this at all. Like, disattach to it, just disengage. Don't know if that's very healthy either. So now what I've done is I look at it. I say, you're blaming yourself again, Catherine. What you're thinking is not true. Move on. That's where we want to get, that's where I like to be. It's hard, but we want to try not to stifle it, because if we stifle it now, years from now, it's going to come back up, and then we're going to go down the spiral, rabbit hole spiral. And we want to get to a point where we can address it. We can think about it, but we're able to say, you're about to go into a place where you're ultimately going to realize it's not your fault. There's nothing you could do. Address it, acknowledge it, say it's not true, move on. She did EMDR, EDMR, and she used it to get rid of her most painful memories. So I did ART, which is accelerated resolution therapy. Similar. It's, someone has their version and it's very similar. It's all rapid eye movement. Yeah. So this person that I went to in Alpharetta, Georgia, she actually is like really big into it. She's like changed a lot of trauma wings and departments of massive hospitals like Mount Sinai, because it's scientifically based. I'm pretty sure it started with the military, who had trauma and PTSD from war, obviously, but they had secrets, government secrets, that they couldn't just divulge to anybody, like a therapist. So they brought them in to do this rapid eye movement that takes your thoughts, the fight and flight mode, and it moves it into a section of your brain where you're easily able to process the memory in a better way. Not saying it the most scientifically way, but it's like that. And I'll put a link down so you guys can click and find out some more information about ART and EDMR. So I was scared. I was like, wait, are you gonna like in Men in Black with the little thing? I was like, my memory's gonna go away. And she was like, no, you're not gonna forget your baby. You're not. So I was so desperate, you guys. I could not function with the memory of them telling me his heartbeat stopped. It's still, I feel it coming, but I'm able to talk about it because of this therapy, and also because I talked about it so many times. So it's desensitizing therapy. So basically, you take the memory and you make it almost like you're not desensitized to it really, but it's like a movie, and you kind of replace it with something a little bit easier to look at, to experience, so you take like a really happy memory that you've created in your mind, like a picture. And then when that horrible moment starts to infiltrate, you replace it. It does it by itself. You don't even do it. Your brain does it. Wild stuff. It was so crippling for me that I was like, I'll do anything. I'll do anything to feel better from this, because I wanted to be able to mourn him and honor him, but I couldn't get past that day. Am I going to go back? Yes, I did go back, but I did a lot of talk therapy. Will I do another session? Absolutely. They're like an hour long, but I think I'm going to go and do one, kind of like maybe about maybe the day he was born, there were some moments, maybe even now that I'm moving forward and taking him with me, what that looks like, I probably am. If you have any questions about that, absolutely. I mean, it's almost like your eyes do a workout. You're super sore because you're going back and forth for like an hour watching a hand, and your brain feels like it's mush. You should go home and sleep. And then, like, after about like 5 to 8 hours or something like that, it starts to file away and process. Then after like a week, it processes. Like, it's not crazy stuff, you guys. But what happened was when I was in the hospital, I got hooked. I asked for Xanax because I was about to lose my damn mind. And they gave me one. And then they just kept giving it to me, whether I think I asked or not. So when I got out of the hospital, I had like a massive amount of Xanax in me. And then I just kept taking it every day, like 4 times a day, not knowing, because I've never done that before, the power of Xanax. It's like a mind altering drug that's very addictive. So when I went to an appointment 3 weeks later to see my OB, she was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And so she was like, "You need to get off that, especially if you want to try to have a baby. You can't get pregnant on Xanax. Too dangerous. Try this." So me trying to not take drugs did all the therapy. And I still am not on anything right now. And sometimes I'm like, should I be? But I took this route, and that worked for me. So if you have any questions about that or are interested, just of course let me know. Um, there's such thing as good and bad therapy. I think you really have to be picky about who you sit in front of. I chose a counselor who had infant loss. Her baby died shortly after she was born, and so this woman could resonate with me on a level that made me want to tell her things. I tried to go to somebody who was like, had an infant at home and no loss at all, and I was like, I cannot sit here and talk to you. Like, that was just me. That's just me. If y'all can do it, that's great. Do what's best for you. You can say no to therapists. You can also say no to therapy. Talk therapy is good if you treat it right. If you continue to go into talk therapy every single day, not every day, maybe like every week or every other week, and you tell the same story of the death over and over and over and over and over again, maybe you'll become desensitized to it in like 5 years, but you're torturing yourself. That That's not good. I mean, if it works for you, that's awesome, but it did not work for me. I could not do that every single time. I needed to learn how to move forward with this grief and take that with me instead of sitting in that moment. It felt very dark to me. So just be careful with what you pick. And like, again, if you have a therapist that ever is like condescending or blows you off or thinks like what you're doing isn't valid, GTFO, get a new one. And I know therapy is really kind of like certainly not the most convenient thing when it comes to payment wise. I do know that I can submit claims at the end of the year and get like 70% back, which is ridiculous that it's not covered by insurance, but that's another story. So make sure that you ask questions about that. Not all of them will take insurance. So it does add up. I know, I'm aware of that. Like, no shopping, therapy, you know? So be careful with who you pick. That's all. Um, she talks about autopsy, making that decision. Unfortunately, we have to make the decision shortly after death and shortly after birth. And that is just like, we shouldn't even be allowed to ask like for plastic utensils. Like, we're insane. I don't remember what was going on. I had so many drugs in my system, like them to be like, do you want us to cut open your baby and find out what happened? And I was like, no. But because the doctors walked in and said, we don't know what happened and you'll never know, I was like, I need to know. So we did. We did. And I try really hard not to think about it. But then coming back and saying it wasn't genetic, then coming back and saying it was nothing, he was perfect, was heartbreaking, but also semi-relieving just because I don't even know. Maybe I I don't know. Part of me kind of wishes that, not wishes, Jesus. What would it have been like if they were like, there was a clear cut reason why he died, and it's because he genetically was not going to survive? Maybe that would have been less of a blow instead of his death being preventable in a total accident. Took the burden off me and my husband for future children. But at this point, I was like, I don't give a shit about that. I want to know what happened to him. So it was, but also very rewarding to be like, we made a perfect baby. Like he's perfect. Like good. We did good, but it's rough. So if you decide, there's no right or wrong. If you want to know, you want to know. And if you wish you hadn't, I'm so sorry. Or if you wish you did, I'm so sorry. But if you feel any of these things, you ain't alone. You're not alone. Talk to so many women, so many moms, so many dads. It's a personal decision. And I kind of wish the hospital had a little bit more like, here's a pamphlet. This is what you have to decide. And we're going to give you maybe some time to decide. Let's work on that. Something's got to change with that. Yeah, Kelsey even got to a point where like, because she said something about like the window she was looking out of and seeing things that she saw when she was in the room. I saw the King and Queen building here in Atlanta. If you're in Atlanta, you know what that is. It's in Sandy Springs outside of Northside Hospital. And every single time I drove by them, I wanted to tuck and roll out of my vehicle on the highway. However, with time, I can look at those buildings and remember holding him, looking outside. It was freezing out, and holding him for the last time. Now I look at them and I think of him and me holding him and not him dying. But it takes so much time. And if you're like, screw those buildings, screw the trees. Do you guys remember looking out windows? Like they put me on an NST before they realized he was gone. And I remember looking out the window and I was so calm. Like so calm, almost like I knew. And so when I see that view again, it's like, damn, what does that mean? Somehow it's dark. It's heavy, guys. That's heavy. So she also talks about, I'm looking at the notes if you're wondering. She also talks about waiting for deliveries. Like same thing here. We had ordered that beautiful pottery barn. It was a gift for my parents. Beautiful pottery barn, glider, the ottoman. You know what I'm talking about. Back ordered for 9 years. Yeah, it showed up like 2 weeks later, and I'm standing there, and it comes to the door, and yep, your girl spiral. It happens, guys. We had a baby shower like right before he died. All the gifts coming in. Did we return them? No, absolutely not. I don't know. Did you guys? Should we? No, they were gifts. And we have hopes of having another baby, and this baby will use their big brother's things. Yeah. Some things will be reserved for Brody forever, but the rest will be their brother's things. We talk about that in another episode later on. Just the parenting after loss and what you do with the clothes. I believe we talked about that. We talked about that in Sarah's episode. So, passing those things along could seem weird, but we do it. We do it. And if you decide not to do it, that's cool too. But if you do it, that's fine too. We're here to let you know that like, there's no right or wrong. This is just what we all do. I think where I will have the problem is when my future children grow up and are no longer babies, and then Brody's baby things are still there. So hopefully I still have a podcast. We'll talk about that when we get there, because this is a marathon, not a sprint. It's a journey in a roller coaster. Am I right? Kelsey had some great points. I hope you guys like, and if I'm missing any of them that you guys want to talk about, please throw them down there. We talked about identity crisis. Kelsey admits to having a big one. Who was she? Who is she? Who was she before? Who is she now? Who was she right after Patrick's death? I'm pretty sure we all do that. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I'm pretty sure it shifts. And one of my friends does say it shifts no matter what when you're a mother, when you're a parent. So even if our babies lived, we'd still shift into different human beings. I just want to make sure that when we say we're changing, that there's more good than bad. I will say, jaded Catherine, she's more of a realist, I think. I used to be a super positive thinker, like very trusting of the universe and God and the magic ways and positive. Like, the book, The Secret, out the window. If you still believe in that, totally fine. No judgment here. But when you try to manifest a healthy and live baby and that doesn't happen, it kind of skews your brain a little bit, which is fine. So I think what's happened to me personally, my expectations, maybe even like none. Still hopeful though. Does that make sense? So I'm hoping it works out, but I'm aware that it might not. Yeah. That's basically it. Who I was before was positivity. Everything's going to be good. I'm going to radiate into the universe. I'm going to manifest. I'm still a big believer, though, that what you put out, you will get back in a sense. Like if you walk around being a total jerk to people, you'll probably just get jerks back. It's very obvious. But my outlook has changed a little bit. And I don't think that's really for the bad. I think that maybe I'll always try to find a silver lining. There's no silver lining to the death of my child, but there is a silver lining to his life. Does that make sense? That's how I feel. His death, there's no reason for his death. Nothing good came out of his death, but there was a reason for his life, and some good things came from his life. If you disagree, fine. That's just where my heart is right now. I think the naivety is gone. Naivete, whatever. Me thinking that things were going to be fine or that things can't happen, bad things can't happen, is gone. Nothing surprises me anymore to almost a level of like, my reactions are just kind of like, oh, that sucks. It's just where we're at. I'd love to know how you guys feel about that. I mean, comment below, because it could be really easy for us to be like, the old us is dead. And Liz talked about this in episode 1. The old us is dead. This is who I am now. And you're jaded and you're hard and you're negative and you're sad. To be quite honest, I'm not that. I'm actually, more peaceful than I was before. Does that make sense? Like, nothing's in my control. I can't force outcomes, no matter how hard I try. In some way, maybe that's freedom. Fear's there. Fear's probably there way more than before, because I think when I was pregnant before, I was like, nothing's going to happen. Nothing bad is going to happen. I was more concerned about like abnormalities, things, just consuming things that may cause abnormalities. I didn't think for 1 second he could die. So, oh, everything's going to work out. Everything's going to be fine. No, that's not really my vibe right now. Maybe am I fearful to a crippling point? Not really, but ask me when I get pregnant again, stay tuned. And then Dominique in episode 4 she talks about TJ and she says that she'll never be healed. There's a big gaping hole where he is. That gaping hole will alter you as a person, and it probably always will. How you choose to let it alter you is your decision. It's your decision and no one else's. That's literally the only thing you have control over. And I put this on my Instagram recently, as you know, as I'm putting this up here, I was recently. The only thing you have control of is how you react to the things that happen to you. That's it. That's your decision. I'm not going to tell you how to react. I'm telling you how I'm reacting. You have to make that decision on your own. Good luck. Just kidding. Oh gosh. Yeah, so we covered a lot of things. One thing I didn't cover was the blood clotting disorder. That's something that has been, maybe I'm saving this for last. But Kelsey definitely has a really serious blood clotting disorder. And if you listen to the podcast, and if you didn't, make sure you go back and listen, that potentially was associated with the death of Patrick. What happened to me was I was told by my OB that she wanted me to have some more genetic blood tests done at my 6-week appointment when my hormones had settled down, so that everything came back true. And they found that I do have prothrombin gene mutation factor 2 heterozygote, meaning one gene from one parent. I think homozygote is 2 genes. Look that up. But that means I have a 4 times likely to get a blood clot. Did I know I had this? No. I asked, why the hell was this not done before I was pregnant or during? She said that they don't test mothers for this unless they've had a loss or a blood clot. But I have not had a blood clot. So riddle me this. Can someone tell me why? Do you guys know? That seems ridiculous. Seems ridiculous. Why? So now, because I didn't lose Brody because of a clot, which that still has not been really confirmed because clots wash away. My doctors are like, yes, she should take blood thinners. No, she shouldn't. Yes, she should. No, she shouldn't. So I have to decide on if I'm going to go on Lovenox in the next pregnancy. But I want to know if any of you guys have had this experience. I think we did an IG live a couple of weeks ago, and someone had messaged that she knew that she had factor 5 and her doctors didn't do anything. And then unfortunately her child was stillborn, and it could have had a potential cause to it. So let me know what you guys think. There's like massive groups on Facebook about this stuff, pregnancy on Lovenox. I'm just like so concerned as to why they don't test before loss. If they had, here we go again with the if I knew this was a thing, and in the 85 blood tests I did in the 36 weeks I was pregnant, 36 and a half weeks, they would have seen that I had this and they would have monitored me closer. It's like we can't get mad because, so it's a simple blood test. They test for a whole bunch of things. And there's a bunch of different things I'm going to mention below, different things that you should probably get tested for, just to make sure you know what you're dealing with. If it's factor 5, and then Sarah in episode 3 also has a different type of blood disorder. They may likely put you on blood thinners during your pregnancy, and you'd have to weigh out the risk and reward. So which one's riskier, to be on it or be off of it? From what I hear, you do have to plan. You have to plan inductions and plan C-sections because you can't go into emergency mode on blood thinners. So but every doctor is different. Every single situation is different. Maybe even like strike that I said that. I'm not a doctor. Obviously, I'm not advising you on what to do. What I'm advising is just see if you have it and then make sure you surround yourself with good people. I saw a hematologist and he was basically like, everyone has factor two. You're fine. But he was like, I want to know what your maternal fetal medicine says. And I was like, okay. So I went to maternal fetal medicine and she was like, I don't think you need it. Then I went to my new OB who had changed and he was like, I think you might need it. Then I went to Dr. Kleiman about the placenta, about Brody's placenta, and he was like, you don't need it. So I don't know. The jury's still out. But the point is, if you have not gotten checked for this, even if you already have a loss or you're currently pregnant or you've never had a loss, just see if you can get the blood work done. Yeah. And even if you're done with kids and you never had a loss and you don't know, maybe just see. I mean, clotting is a big deal, especially nowadays. You keep hearing about it all the time. Just get the test. That's all it is. Insurance probably covers it anyway. So that's that. So again, any comments you have, keep it clean, keep it nice. We're here to support each other. We're here to let each other know we're not weird. We're normal in this loss game. So I'm going to link everything at the bottom here. Coming up next, we're going to have Sarah on. Sarah's also an Atlanta lost mom, but her outlook has been fantastic. She does have a living child. She lost her second child. She has a rainbow baby, what she calls it, after that. So she's got a big viewpoint of loss during parenting and parenting after loss. So that one's coming up next. Make sure you listen to that one. I will break that one down as well. Guys, leave comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. I want you to know whenever I pop on for these things because I'd love to help you if I can. Hit me up on Instagram as well. I'll leave all the handles below. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry you're here, but I'm happy that we're connecting and we're together and we're getting through this together. And take care of yourselves, guys.